Happy Friday, everyone. Go get your notebooks. I'm going to give you a bunch of quick tips today, and you're going to want to write these down. I promise. At least one of them is going to be useful, no doubt. So, roll it back a minute. I'm a chef. I help people cook meals. I want you to go to the grocery store and buy food and cook it simply and sit down and eat dinner together. That is my ultimate goal. But I'm also a parent. I'm a working parent, and life is crazy. I am a modern person who cares a lot about what's going on in the world. There's a lot going on. If you can't cook some elaborate meal for dinner, that is totally fine. So the more that I teach people about meal planning and the more that I talk to people in 2022 about their meal planning process and what getting dinner on the table looks like, or even lunch or breakfast or school lunch or snacks or whatever it is, the more I want to say that whatever you can do that works, right? Like, there's no room today for high standards about home cooked or freshly cooked or any of that stuff. So I like to give you recipes and ideas for getting dinner on the table and making dinner in an easy way. But I also really want to be clear that when we talk about meal planning or plating your kids' food, if meal planning means putting takeout on your meal plan, like, that counts as a meal plan. And that's still really, really helpful to have written down. So I think one of the ways that I want to be different from some of the other food or feeding your kids or dinner on the table resources that you see out there is I'm not going to tell you what foods to feed your family. I'll give you ideas because I have a lot of those and I have a lot of recipes online. But what I want to give you are practical, tactical solutions for making it all a little bit easier. So I have some rapid fire quick start tips for you today. Okay. So we're going to talk about a couple of areas. I'm going to look at my notes because I wrote down a list and I don't want to forget them. We're going to talk quick start tips, actual tactics to make life easier in grocery shopping, putting food away once you get home, meal planning, bailing on your meal plan, and a really fun game that my kids love to play at dinner that you can play tonight at dinner, especially if you have a choosy eater or picky eater, or somebody who struggles to enjoy eating like the rest of the family. You can play it tonight with no preparation. Like, literally all you need to do is sit down to dinner and you can play this game, okay? And my kids love it. We play this game almost every meal. Okay, so number one, grocery shopping. If you are in the store grocery shopping, when you get to the end, instead of just kicking back and letting the bagger put the stuff away, see if you can help at least a little bit. If you participate in the bagging, even though that means shuffling things around, you got to hide your wallet and get over there and try to help. It will be easier once you get home. So my favorite thing to do is have one bag and I kind of stand on the side. So if they're doing a lot of the bagging, I kind of stand on the side. And as the stuff goes by, I specifically grab all of the dairy or refrigerated items that are going to need to go immediately into the refrigerator, like cheeses, tofu, milk, eggs, all of those types of things. If you're also buying a lot of produce, I would keep that as much as possible in a separate, immediate refrigerator bag. And then just let the bagger pack the rest of the stuff. This way, if you get home and plans change or things are busy, you have a bag that you can even just, I've come home sometimes and just put that whole bag immediately in the fridge, and then I unpack it and go and organize it later when I have a little bit more time. So you don't need to do all of the bagging, though I personally like to do all the bagging, but I'm, a little bit extra in that area. But just grab those quick refrigerated items or the frozen items that need attention the moment you get home from the grocery store. And the rest of it, if it sits on your floor for a little while, that's fine. Maybe you don't have time to unpack it right away, but you can get those high perishable items immediately into the refrigerator. Now, grocery shopping part 2, ordering online versus shopping in the store. Which do you do? I would love to hear informal poll. Let me know underneath. What's your percentage nowadays? For a while, about a year ago, I guess maybe that was COVID, or I don't know, I was cooking more, whatever it is. I was shopping mostly online, but I'm actually probably about 80% in person now and 20 online, but it sort of changes. So let's do an informal poll. I'd love to hear. Just let me know kind of what percents you're at. Um, Either way, if you're doing any combination of both, my favorite way to separate these things out is put the things into your online order that either come from a specific store that like you don't want to drive to. So do that as an online order and you can get a few of those items. Or the main way that I kind of separate it is I try to do about, I don't know, maybe 50 to 60% of the heavy items or the boxed items. Like a box of Cheerios is a box of Cheerios is a box of Cheerios. Yeah, maybe they send a different size. Maybe you get the heart-shaped ones versus the regular ones. You know, ordering online, you sort of get what you get and you don't get upset, as my kids would say. So order those things that are pretty much always going to be the same, and then take your perishables, your delicate items, your things where you want to test for, you know, ripeness or herbs, things like that that you want to pick by hand. Avocados, like tomatoes, you always want to go and buy those yourself. So if you have a total list of maybe 50 items, if you could put 25, 35 of those in an online order and then just need to go to the store for the remaining items, you've shrunk your list down from 50 to, I don't know, 10, 15, whatever it is. And the important part about shrinking your grocery list is that you're also shrinking all of that time and effort that's put into the store. If you're mostly just going in to buy produce, you could maybe go to a local store to buy produce, or you could go to a more high-end store to buy produce. Or even you just go to the regular store to buy produce, but you're just going into the produce aisle and your trip is that much faster. So especially if you're looking to save time and you do already order online, that's my favorite way to separate it out. Just buy a handful of things in person and put the things in bulk that come in packages that aren't really going to change, you know, based on your shopper's decision making. Do those for the online shopping. And then, of course, since you're putting in all the heavy items, make sure you tip them. You know, it costs more to shop online. It just does. There's a middleman, there's another human involved. If you think about it, what is your time worth if you're spending your time at the grocery store? How much do you make an hour? What do you charge for your services an hour? That's what your time is worth when you go to the grocery store. So, you know, is it worth it to do it online? But definitely tip them. They're working hard. Okay. Putting food away. So I talked about, you know, packing your perishables so that you can just put them away. But this is more like when you're putting things into your pantry or putting things into your fridge. I know in a lot of industries, and certainly in the culinary industry, we say FIFO, FIFO, first in, first out. Pretty much anyone that's keeping inventory is cycling through and doing FIFO, especially if there's any sort of shelf life involved. But think of your own kitchen as your own little mini inventory and do your FIFO. So the best time to rotate your products is when you're putting stuff away. So take an extra moment when you're putting stuff back in your fridge or stuff back in your pantry to organize specific sections at a time. Pull the old snacks, the open pretzels, the open chips, pull those things forward and put the other stuff behind it. This is important for pantry goods because they can go bad. If things are open, they can get stale, they could get bugs, all manner of things could happen. Also, it's important in the pantry because if you have a bag of chips open and there's only like a few handfuls at the bottom, if they get pushed in the back, somebody who isn't thinking about money or food waste or any of the implications will just tear open a new bag. So make the people in your house eat the stuff that's open before you open a new bag. For this reason, it's why I am not a huge fan of like decanting into all these plastic containers because you end up opening so many bags of things. But you do you. If you like the way that looks and that's helping you rotate through stock, great. Just maybe keep it pared down so you're not opening too many things at a time. If you, like me, I do this. I actually do like one big shopping once a month and I buy a lot of snacks and a lot of cans and things like that. And then I squirrel them away. So if you're like me and you're buying many weeks worth of packaged things that won't go bad in one trip rather than doing like a moderate amount weekly, you need to have somewhere to squirrel stuff away, especially as your kids get a little bit older. I think of myself in middle school being like, oh, I'm just going to open this and grab this. And you have no, again, people who aren't paying the bills or planning the meals or paying attention to the implications of wasting food or not going through the things that you buy are going to just go with their cravings and open the things that's in their line of sight. So the less that you can have open and visible, the better you will be able to manage all these things. So have a secret cabinet somewhere where people don't go that you can put your overstock, so you know you have stuff in backup, but it's kind of hiding away. If you are in a mode where you're feeling like this cabinet's a mess, this fridge is a mess, the spices are a mess, go through, don't try to do them all at once. Chip away at it. So like pick an area. If you know your spice cabinet needs to be done before you buy things next time, put it on your calendar. Try to do it like 10, 20 minutes at a time. And then the next time you come home from your grocery store, do the snack cabinet, do the school snack cabinet, or do the produce drawer. And just try to go through these things a little bit at a time rather than feeling like you need an 8-hour day to totally reorganize your kitchen. But if you keep it up little by little every time you come back from the grocery store, things in general will keep like a more organized status than if you're constantly opening too many things and always just waiting for a big organization day. Okay, meal planning. Okay, so this is not a meal planning video. I actually did a meal planning video a few back, and I have a whole free webinar that's about to come out. You can find the link in any of my bios and sign up for that webinar. And that talks all about meal planning. It like talks about meal planning for 30 minutes. I want to say one thing about meal planning in this quick tip video. Write your meal plan. I'm not going to convince you of that today, but find my other videos where I convince you of that. Write your meal plan and post it in your kitchen where everybody in your household can see it or read it. Even if you have little kids who can't read, post it so they know where it is. And what you're doing is you're starting to train everybody else who eats with you that you are not the sole keeper of the information about what's for dinner. The question, what's for dinner, is annoying enough for the person who has to make dinner or plan dinner every single night, but it is made worse. This is invisible mental labor that the person who decides what's for dinner carries around the what's for dinner question and answer. If you write a meal plan and post it, write it on a chalkboard, write it on a whiteboard, or honestly, I do it by hand. You could type it in and print it out. Post it somewhere where everybody in your house has access to that information. And then when they say, what's for dinner? You can just point to wherever you've hung the meal plan and get people used to the idea of going to find their own answers. You do not need to be the keeper of that information. Even that one little piece is going to just de-stress the what's for dinner drama that you are carrying around with you. I promise. So if nothing else, and that's all you have to do, right? How easy is that tip? Go post it publicly. Bailing on your meal plan. Are you somebody who doesn't want a meal plan because you feel like your plans change and you constantly bail on your meal plan? I also have a whole section about that in the webinar that is coming out. You can see that in just a few days, or if you're watching this a few days after today, you can go and find the links to watch that whole webinar that talks about that. But the tip that I will give you here in your quick start tip is think about your A, B, C meals. So I want every family to have a 3 to 10 meal list that are A, B, C meals. A is always loved. Everybody in your family always loves this meal, and you got to kind of go for your lower common denominator here. So this is whoever is your pickiest. This meal needs to be always loved by everybody in your family. B is basic. So no specialty items, no specialty trips required, basic stuff. And C is convenient. Convenient and basic are a little bit different. Convenient means really easy for you to make. It doesn't always mean fast, because for me, I work at home, so convenient might be throwing everything in my Instant Pot. So it still might take an hour to cook, but it's still very convenient because it's not a lot of my prep time. Convenient for you might mean a 10-minute meal or something frozen that you can just microwave, because you might not work at home and you might only come home and have 10 minutes. So ABC meals, always loved, basic and convenient. Have a list of them because they will not be basic and convenient if you're not prepared to pull them off at a moment's notice. So work together with your family and come up with a list of these 3 to 5 or 10 meals that can be executed on at any point. So a lot of these might be pantry meals. One of my family's ABC meals is like a pasta carbonara or a pasta primavera with like an egg-based and pasta water sauce because we always have some sort of pasta, a handful of vegetables, an egg, and some Parmesan. And then when you make the pasta water, I can whip that together very easily. Those ingredients are basic for my family. They're always in my refrigerator. And that's convenient for me because it is a simple 15-minute meal that I can make anytime. And it's always loved because some version of that will always work for everyone in my family. You need to have a bunch of them and you need to have them written down so that you know what they are. Because the thing about the way our brains works is that if you are feeling a lot of stress, if you're feeling a lot of time pressure, if there are people around you who are hungry and it is dinner time, it will be harder for you to make decisions and it will be harder for you to be creative. So if you're sitting down in a place where you have time and space and you can actually think about what these meals might be, you will be able to come up with a bunch of meals. But if you are feeling pressure, a time crunch, everybody's hungry, and I say, hey, quick, name a basic pantry meal that you can make, your brain just frizzles out of your head and you won't be able to think of something. So it's very important that you write these down, have your ABC meal list ready to go. So if you have written a greater meal plan and you come home and Wednesday ends up being a more stressful or a more time crunch day than you originally planned, or the second biggest reason people tell me they bail on making a meal plan is because they just change their mind and they're not in the mood for it. You can bail on your meal plan and choose an ABC meal because you have those ingredients ready to go. They're loved and basic and convenient. The other part about that I can't resist saying is that if you bail on something like with perishable items like a salmon or vegetables that are going bad, you need to also in the next day or two take steps to preserve those items so that they don't end up being wasted, because we want a meal plan to reduce waste. So you don't want to make waste by bailing on your meal plan, right? Okay, last tip. If you have eaters that are challenging at your table, so many strategies lead up to this, but basically if you're serving them anything new or anything that's even, something they're learning to like or they've tried a few times or isn't something they automatically love, though that said, you can sprinkle in a few things that you also love too. The game that we play is thumbs up, thumbs down. So let's say, for dinner tonight, we're having pasta and we've made a big side salad. So I will have some lettuce, I will have some sliced radishes, maybe I'll have some snap peas, and then I'll have a little container of dressing so that the kids can dip into their dressing. So they are encouraged to try or taste the new thing, but we don't talk about it in those terms. We just say, hey, it's rating time. Everybody who wants to pick the first item, we're going to all try, and then we're going to do the ranking. So my kids, for some reason, like to do 2 thumbs, but you can just do 1 thumb. So they have to take a little bite. Maybe really nervous eaters can just lick it, whatever they want to do. But then they get to rank it, and everybody goes around the table, and they kind of start here, and they can turn it up and give any sort of rating they want. So the win in the game is not that you liked it. The goal in no way is thumbs up. The goal is to see what everybody's rating is. And then you hold up your rating and go around the table and everybody gets a chance to talk about their rating. And eventually, over time, my kids who, again, are not great eaters. My kids are challenging. They're sort of regular kids who eat kind of basic things. And we are going through this too. They are learning how to eat more. They will tell me, oh, hey, last time it was this and now it's this. And from there, you can use these increases to talk about how interesting it is that their tastes have changed over time. Sometimes they'll say, hey, last time you made pizza, it was here, but tonight's is only here. So, resist the urge to feel offended at the criticism of your cooking. But remember, the goal is to get everybody's ranking on whether or not they liked the food, not to get them to like it. You want to de-pressure the urge to get them to taste new foods and like them. and just emphasize, hey, you did a great job ranking that item. So try that game tonight. If you're struggling to get your kids to eat, let me know how it goes. What did they try and what were their rankings and did they like it? I find that kids love to be heard and their opinions respected. And it's just a great, really super simple way to get them to try new things without putting the focus on, hey, try this new thing. Okay, friends, so those are my tips for you today. Grocery shopping, do the bagging, put your perishables in one bag so you can just chuck them in the fridge and then sort them out when you have time. Ordering online, do the heavy things that can't change, and then make a smaller in-person grocery trip for the things that are perishable or fragile or you want to really be able to specify. Putting food away, take a moment to FIFO so that you're reducing food waste and you're not opening too many bags at once. You're also keeping all of your areas organized. Meal planning, write it on paper or print it, post it publicly so that everybody has access to the information and you're not having to be the one who stores that information in your brain. Write your list of ABC meals, always loved, basic and convenient. And play the thumbs up, thumbs down for tasting foods that you know they like and also brand new foods so that the emphasis is on the ranking and not on the fact of their tasting. Let me know if you have any comments or any topics you want me to talk about. I will see you next time. Thanks for being here.